This segment is brought to you by Jigmasters. Step up your game with high-quality performance jigs, spinner baits, buzz baits, and more from Jigmasters.com. And always, when in doubt, get the jig out.
Welcome to the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast on the Paddle and Fin Network. On this podcast, we'll be talking about life and kayak fishing. Every week, we'll have a special guest, whether it's a tournament angler, a content creator, or just a regular guy or girl who just loves to go kayak fishing. So grab a cold beer, sit back, and enjoy the show. Bass Kayak and Beers is sponsored in part by Douglas Rod. Go to douglasoutdoors.com to check out their full lineup and locate your nearest authorized dealer.
Yak Gadget, made in America, based outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Yak Gadget offers all kinds of storage accessories, quick mount motor mounts, anchor systems, track mounted accessories, even paddles. Go to yakgadget.com and get your kayak decked out for your next trip out on the water.
The 153 Bait Company, based in Troy, Ohio, make everything from plastics to custom painted hard baits. Hook 'em hard and hook 'em often. All of our baits are made to order and all of our hard baits are hand painted to order. So go to the153anglers.com to place your order today.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Bass Kayak and Beer segment on the Paddle and Fin Network. As always, it's your host, Armando. Thank you for tuning in. Today, I don't have a special guest. In fact, I wasn't even going to record today for this episode. Kind of had to reschedule my recordings due to kind of like emotional roller coaster the last 48 hours. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But at the end of the day, I felt guilty not recording an episode. I think I owed it to Brian and the guys at Paddle and Fin to, put up a good show or at least put up a recording. So anyways, what I decided to do is kind of like do a little recap of my month of March, which was kind of hectic. And we'll talk a little bit of kayak fishing and a little bit of my personal life. So I apologize to these boys of some of you guys out there, but anyways, like I said, it's been kind of crazy. Starting off with the last few days, I just got word yesterday that my dog has cancer and it's terminal, and it's kind of hard for me. She's been my loyal friend for the last 5.5 years, so it's kind of crazy because she has this tumor on her adrenal gland, and it's causing her to lose potassium. So she gets very weak as she goes through the day. She wakes up fine, and then as the day goes on, she starts getting weaker and weaker until finally by late afternoon, early evening, she can't even get up. And it's like that cycle every morning. She gets up fine, and by the end of the day, she can't even walk. So after a bunch of tests that have been done, they finally narrowed it down using ultrasound that she has a tumor on her, on a gland. So it's doesn't seem to be operable. It seems as it's cancer. And, now it's the hard decision to, figure out when's the best time to, let go and have her move on to greener pastures. So, yeah, I think I owed it to my guest that I had planned for this week to kind of reschedule. I get my head clear. Other than that, I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about March and kind of get to know me a little bit better. For those that don't know me, I've been kayak fishing for the last 3 years. I moved from Puerto Rico about 10 years ago, fell in love with bass fishing and kayak fishing when I got here. I grew up in what I like to call in Puerto Rico that cable TV generation, where, when you're a little kid and cable TV got popular back in Puerto Rico. So every Sunday morning, my mom would tell you that I would get up early in the morning, grab my fishing rod, my tackle box, and sit down and watch those outdoor TV shows and those Bassmaster competitions. So I always fell in love with bass fishing since I was little, but I didn't really get a chance to do it until I moved to Texas, which is, to me, the mecca of bass fishing when it comes down to not just the sheer size of the bass fishing here, but also the culture that's involved. Like, I understand California has big bass, and Florida has big bass, but the culture for bass fishing, combined with the fact that there's huge bass everywhere here. It's a lot of them. It kind of, to me, makes it kind of like the mecca for bass fishing. And nothing against other states, like Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, even New York, and all of them. They all have great bass fishing culture. But to me, Texas is something special when it comes to bass fishing. So, I gravitated to that when I came here to Texas, and I loved it ever since. And about 3 years ago, I got my first kayak, an Ascend 12T, and then I move on to my Outback, which in this month, fishing for the Bassmaster kayak series in Lake Fork, I actually noticed a crack in it when I got off the water, and it had quite a few, I would say, gallons of water inside the kayak. I wasn't, worried about sinking or anything, because I really didn't notice until I got out of the water and noticed, how heavy it was. So it did have a crack in the scupper hole. So I got that kayak about 2 years ago, went up to Pro Anglers here in Northridge Hills, Texas, spoke to Rick, the owner. He filed a claim for the warranty, and, like an hour later, Hobie replied saying they're going to honor the warranty. So I got a new kayak coming, a new Hobie Outback, at least the hull of it. And then I already been thinking about moving to a PA 360, the 14-foot PA 360, just because that brings me to another interesting thing that happened in March. So anyways, I got the PA 360 on, and I'm still waiting for the Outback to get here. So I'm going to have either two kayaks. I'm going to sell one. The big decision is going to be, my wife has been telling me she wants me to take her kayak fishing. So we're going to go up to Whitney Lake to do some kayak fishing. I'll probably repair the hull for the Outback that I have now until the other one arrives. And we're going to hit up Whitney Lake, which she sees in my videos how beautiful it is. So she wants me to take her there to do some kayak fishing. So if she really likes it, really enjoys it, then I might keep the Outback. If not, then I'll probably sell the Outback and buy myself the Live Scope Garmin, the transducer. I already got the fish finder with the regular, transducer, but I might upgrade using the money that I sell from that kayak if she doesn't want it. But if she likes it and she enjoys it, then even better. We'll get to go kayak fishing on the weekends. So that's happened. The reason why I bought the the 14 360 is, and this brings me to my other big news for March. And a lot of things went on in March. First, the Bassmasters, then my dog Nova with the cancer, and then the PA 360. And then the reason why, like I said, the reason why I got the PA 360 was because I've been on a paid voluntary leave of absence from my work. Some of you know I work for American Airlines here in DFW Airport. With the pandemic, they were offering voluntary leave of absence. Since I've been working for the company for like 28 years, I was already in the top salary. So the package that they offered me was like I can get 2 years of paid voluntary leave of absence. They will pay 14 hours per week. I didn't have to go to work. They would just mail me a check for 14 hours per week, and I get paid bi-weekly. So it'd be 28 hours, a paycheck. And I didn't have to go to work versus me going to work and making 40 plus hours. So they wanted to avoid that with some of the agents like myself doing the top salaries. So first thing I did, I told my wife, listen, if you want to quit your job and retire, since we don't need the extra money, go ahead and do that. I'll keep working full time. But the minute she says, no, I'd be too bored. And I said, you know what? I'm taking that leave of absence then. Because we're at a good place financially. We made some good investments in the past. So we managed to pay off our cars and our mortgage. So we're pretty much debt free. You still have the utility bills, the homeowners association, the insurance. But as far as owing for a car or mortgage, we're done with that. So that gives a lot of financial flexibility. And I mean, I guess I could stay working my 40 hours a week and make a lot more money. But really, my point of view on it is I'm not interested in nice cars. I mean, not nice cars. I obviously love having a nice car, but I'm not interested in luxurious cars or, the latest Silverado, or GMC truck or whatever. I don't need a big house. It's just me and my wife and and our dog for at least 1 more week. So my point of view on it is like I like to have more time fishing. So I took that leave of absence, started in November, but 2 weeks ago they sent me a letter saying that business is picking back up in the airline industry. So they're cutting my 2 year voluntary time off, paid voluntary time off, and I need to go back to work on April. So April 26th is my new start date. So I go back to work instead of having 2 years of paid leave of absence. I ended up with 6 months paid leave of absence, which, I'll take. Wish they could have stayed with the 2 year plan like we agreed on, but it is what it is. It's in the contract. But that got me to the PA 14360. I figured, well, if I'm going back to work, I'm going to be making that extra money. Might as well get the kayak that I've always wanted, once it came out. So I finally got my PA 14360. They're nowhere to be found in Texas, Oklahoma, or Louisiana. So I ended up finally finding a dealership, an authorized dealership in Arkansas, which is, trying to remember, Ozark Mountain Trading Company, if I'm not mistaken. Great place, loved it. They have a few, I guess it's like a, kayak shop, a chain business. There's 3 or 4, maybe 5 of them up in Arkansas. So I got to the one that had the only one that had the PA 360. It was roughly a 6-hour drive going, maybe a little bit less, and a 6-hour drive coming back. So I spent it roughly almost 12 hours on the road. When was that? That was on Thursday. Yeah, that was on Thursday. The good thing about it is I got to meet Rebecca Lentz. I don't know if actually Rebecca Baker, because she just got married. But for those of you who don't know Rebecca Baker, formerly Rebecca Lentz, she's Lady Angler Lentz. You can follow her on Instagram, and she's going to bring up some great content on YouTube and also on TikTok. She loves kayak fishing and bass fishing, but mainly her big calling for now is fly fishing. So I've followed her. I actually had her on my podcast, the first episode, I think, of this year. So if you haven't listened to that, go check out my first episode for 2021 on the Bass Kayak and Beers. I think the title of it's called Lady Angler Lentz, which is her name on social media. Great personality, great human being. It was an honor meeting her. We got to have some orange flavor iced coffee over there in Blue Sail Coffee, I think it was. Got to talk to her a little bit about fly fishing and her social media. So go check her out, Lady Angler Lentz. Again, she's going to start revamping her YouTube channel with some great content, and again, her Instagram and TikTok. If you're in TikTok, go check it out, and Facebook as well. So anyways, got my kayak here. I wanted to get it on time for the TKC, Texas Kayak Championship, which was on Saturday. And I guess I did, but by then it was obvious that my dog was not doing well and that something needed to be done. And I was scrambling to get her appointment, move over appointment for her ultrasound. By then she already gone through like different tests and nothing could be found that was wrong with her. She started getting worse. So all my focus was on trying to move up her appointment for ultrasound, which should have been last week. But I was like, no, her health is getting worse every day. So I need to get this done ASAP. So I ended up driving to Austin yesterday, which is 3 hours from here. My sister works, my youngest sister works at a vet office in Austin, and she found out about Nova. And she called me and says, hey, we can get her in if you don't mind doing the 3-hour drive. I'm like, heck no, I don't mind. So I ended up doing the 3-hour drive yesterday. That's when I found out the results of the ultrasound, which again, cancerous tumor. So she's not going to be with us much longer. It breaks my heart. We rescued her about 5.5 years ago. She was born the same month and year that my wife and I got married. So when we saw her birth certificate, it was like, yeah, this is the one. So she's a wonderful dog. I appreciate all my friends who have texted me, who have offered to come say goodbye to Nova before she leaves us. So thank you very much for you guys, my closest friends that have reached out to me. It's tough for those of you that have pets, dog lovers, cats, whatever pet you have, it becomes more than family to you, especially when you don't have kids like me and my wife. We don't have kids. So our dog is pretty much one of the most important things in our life and, in our project, in our marriage, I should say. But anyways, enough sad news. Other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was my Bassmasters Lake Fork tournament. That was my first big tournament. I plan to fish at least one Hobie BOS event and one KBF event, which is coming in April 11 and 12 here at the Trinity River. I'm very confident about that one. Trinity River is where I got my line when it comes to bass fishing. So I'm very comfortable with that river. It's not fished a lot, although I'm sure a lot of kayak anglers are going to start hitting up that in the next few weeks, trying to get familiarized with it. But whenever I'm at the Trinity River, I hardly ever see another kayak out there. And last year I went a lot. This year I haven't gone yet. But I'm confident that, that I could do something special. I'm not going to say I'm going to win because, some of the top anglers that have been doing this for years and years, with either bass fishing or kayak fishing, are taking part in this tournament. So I don't expect to win, but I expect to get a limit. And who knows? Maybe I'll get in the money, or maybe I'll get a place where I wouldn't qualify for the national championship. So we'll see. But anyways, Lake Fork was kind of bittersweet. Like, again, it was my first big event. I've never fished a big event like that. I started doing tournaments with Slay Nation when they came to Texas last year. And for those of you out there that want to get involved in tournament but kind of feel intimidated by big name trails, you can always look for local club events. Slay Nation was a great kind of like gateway drug to kayak fishing tournaments. Frankie Provolone does a great job with Slay Nation. And he's very hands-on everything related to, his trails. They have a trail in a lot of the states out there. So if you're interested in getting into tournament, check if there's a Slay Nation tournament series or kayak trail next to you or close to you. You can go check it out. It's a good way to get your feet wet when it comes to tournament fishing. So Lake Fork was, even though I'm very confident in Lake Fork because I fished it a few times last year, I already had kind of like my honey hole on that lake. I felt confident going in, although the tournament set up for spawning. And that's not something that I'm particularly good at. I've only been kayak fishing and bass fishing for roughly 3 or 4 years. Kayak fishing for 3 years, bass fishing maybe 4 or 5 years. So bed fishing, spawning, sight fishing is not something, it's not my strong suit. If this would have been post spawning, then I would have really felt comfortable fishing in that tournament. But, it is what it is. If you want to be a great angler, if you want to, mix it up with the best of the best, you have to get good at every aspect of fishing, cold weather bite, hot summer, pressured was a lot of boat traffic, which was the case in Lake Fork, spawning, pre-spawning, all that cool stuff. You have to learn, you have to get better. So to me, it was a good opportunity to at least, get to know some of the guys and girls that have done this for a while. I got to meet Russ Snyder, Brad Case, which I already had on my podcast, but I never got a chance to meet him face to face. Marcus Coates, Big Gun Barry, Bobby Moran, Jeremy Baker, a bunch of great guys. And there's a lot of guys out there that I got to meet. Also, Nate Gloria, who won the tournament, I got to meet him on the water. We were helping each other out, kind of loading and unloading on the water before the tournament got started and after the tournament ended when we were getting off the water. So great guy, Nate Gloria. Very happy for him that he won the tournament. But a few things that I've learned from tournament fishing is, and I guess I like to share with you that are getting into tournament fishing or thinking of getting into tournament fishing. Sometimes when you listen to all these pros, it's hard to, how do you say this? I don't say hard to understand, but hard to identify yourself because their mindset is different. They've been doing this for a long time. Some of them may have forgotten what it is to be a newbie at the tournament scene. So I guess I can share my perspective on it, and it'll help the ones that like myself that are either getting into tournament fishing or thinking getting tournament fishing. And the first thing that I thought that I could have done better is establish myself. When you go to a boat ramp and you see so many kayaks just ready to go, and everybody's, has their like pro staff, their motor guides, their spot locks, their super nice equipment. And not to say that I had a tricycle equipment, I have an Outback, so I had a nice kayak going toward it, but it's kind of intimidating. And I think for me, I could have done a better job of just sticking to plan A and establishing myself. What I mean by that, it was when I went pre-fishing, I looked up different areas. At the end of the day, I decided I was just going to hit up my, what I called, quote unquote, my honey hole, the creeks that I'm familiar with in Lake Fork that I've fished it before, that I've got quality bass, both in quality and quantity. But again, keeping in mind that this is spawning and I've never fished Lake Fork on a spawning season, especially after 2 weeks removed from a winter storm, which froze part of the lake and creek. So it was, it was an interesting dynamic going into it. But I decided I was going to fish my honey hole. When I got on the water, I saw so many people heading into the same spot that I was heading. I kind of got intimidated, and I know that hurts my ego to say it. So I thought, let's just call an audible here and move to another creek that I know and establish, and kind of put in plan what I had in mind, but a different area. That probably wasn't the best idea. I found out quickly why the creek that I chose to go, at the last minute, I had it to myself because there really wasn't any bass there. And I moved way deep into the brushes, way deep into the creeks, kind of what you saw Kristen Fisher doing on her YouTube videos and some of the other guys that were doing, just going deep into them, casting shallow water. That's how I caught some of them on pre-fishing, but at other creeks. So I couldn't find a single bedding fish on those new creeks that I was targeting. And I didn't even get my first bite till I was about 10 a.m. And at that point, I was just happy to get a bite. By 10 a.m., you start thinking, am I going to get skunk? I'm at the halfway point. I haven't caught anything. Am I really going to get skunk at the Bass Nation tournament? So I was super elated when I got my first bass, just dragging a shaky head as slow as I could. And then I didn't get another bite until close to the end, when my strategy was, well, these creeks have nothing. On my way back to the creek that I was originally going to go from the beginning, I still saw a lot of boat traffic. There were crappie fishing guides. There was 2 bass tournaments, boat bass tournaments, plus the Bassmaster Kayak Series tournament. So the lake was overpopulated, pressurized, like you wouldn't imagine. And it kind of seemed like everybody had the same mindset that I had. So I decided I would just go to like where there was a lot of standing timber, and just pitch in there. That didn't work. Drop shotting, that didn't work. A Carolina rig, dragging a Carolina rig and drifting with it, that didn't work. Moving baits, that didn't work. Deep driving crankbaits, that didn't work. Jackhammer, 1.25 ounce jackhammer to go deep with it, that didn't work. So finally, when I saw the creek, looking from the other side of the lake, I saw like it was clear and people were moving out. I decided to go to the spot. Now, the day before the tournament, pre-fishing, I found 2 beds with spawning bass, and one of them was legit a big bass. And the other one was decent size, could have been the buck. But I had eyed them and marked them, and I thought I'll go back to them. So I did go back to them. The big one that I was looking at that was kind of like wedged in between the grass and a log that was sticking out, that bass was no longer there. Found out later with conversations with guys that were fishing that actually a boat boat on a tournament got the female on that. And then I did find the buck on the other nest. That was a 15 and 3/4 inch bass. So I was happy in a way that I was able to put that in practice. Being my first time targeting spawning bass, going pre-fishing, these other beds, I see them, and it's really cool because you can see the bass just like the tail sticking out, and you see them just waving and like cleaning or aerating the eggs and kind of keeping their nest. So it was cool to watch that the day before and then come back to it, target them, and actually catch them. Like I said, one of the nests was either abundant because either they took the bass with them for their tournament or just whatever happened. That spawning bass wasn't there, but I did find the other one. So I was happy. I felt accomplished at that point, even though I only ended up with 2 bass. I've ended up in a good note. And that's all I could ask for at that point. It was within, like, I think an hour and a half of finishing the tournament. So disappointment at the end. Realistic expectation going into the Bassmasters at Lake Fork was knowing that I knew that creek and that I was familiar with it and that I knew how to catch him. Again, when it's not spawning, I was hoping I get a limit at the very least, and then maybe I would end up in the money, which I think the top 30 places, and maybe, just maybe, my miracle, my 5 limit will be enough to get me into the Bassmaster Classic next year, which I think was the top 19 or top 20. But that didn't happen. I think I ended up something like 112 out of 196. So again, that was disappointing. But at the same time, when I looked for a silver lining or something to make me feel better about it, I go back to that, that cool learning experience of targeting spawning bass and then coming the next day and actually catching one of them. And also the fact that when you look at the top 11, I think the only one that was from Texas was Guillermo Gonzalez, which Mr. Consistency. He's always seems to be in that top 10. He's a model of consistency. So that was the only Texans in the top 11, which goes to show you that Lake Fork didn't really fish like Lake Fork, didn't show up like Lake Fork has. I think for a lot of Texas anglers, it kind of, threw a curveball at us. I know there was even Texans that, I'm not going to say their names, I don't want to call them up like that in that way, but that even guys that I know that are great anglers, that even a skunk that couldn't even get a single bite on Lake Fork. So I was like, looking at through that, I was like, you never want to just go into tournament and have only 2 fish on the board. But, that made me realize, Lake Fork did not fish. And I know some of the guys out there and some of the girls who are fishing, they were like, well, it was a slugfest. It was awesome. And yes, it was for a lot of them. But I don't think Lake Fork showed up like it really has the potential. I really thought 100, 102 maybe would win the tournament. I think Nate Gloria won with something like 98, which I thought that maybe would have gotten to the top 5. Also, he took the lead around noon, probably earlier, and it held up to the end. So the tournament pretty much was done by all intended purposes. As far as the leaders or the even like the top two or three was done by um, 10 or 11. So that goes to show you, that it didn't fish like Lake Fork has the potential of being fished. And again, it's so many boat tour guides, fishing tour guides, bass tournaments on boats, crappie fishermen, uh, our own Bass Nation. It was just chock full of people everywhere, every single place, except for the creek that I was in. Like I said, you can see why there was nobody at that creek, because there was no fish there either. So still, all in all, it was a great experience. I loved it. Looking forward to the next one. But yeah, that's pretty much how my March has gone. Going back to work on April, got the news, got myself a new kayak, made some cool people like Lady Angler Lens in person, Brad Case, Marcus Coates, Big Gun Bobby Morin, and a bunch of other guys. Ross Snyder I got to meet in person. So that was really cool. Fishing Lake Fork Bassmaster, coming from a kid that grew up watching Bassmaster, never thought I would actually be fishing at a Bassmaster event. So that's pretty cool. And then again, with my situation with the dog is kind of heartbreaking. So it's been a crazy month. I'm sorry I don't have a special guest for you guys. I'm sorry if I'm boring you to death. If you're still with us, thank you. Oh, I also forgot. I opened up my first account with Douglas. As you know, Douglas is a sponsor of my show. I also not only they sponsor me, but I actually work for them as a field pro, which means I go into fishing stores or tackle shops and present the product, showcase the product, and get them to buy into the authorized dealership program. Fun and Sun Tackle is my first account open. I'm really proud of that. If you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, go check out Fun and Sun Tackle. They're here in Hearst, Highway 10. You can look it up on Google and you can find it. Great place for tackle. It has a bunch of tackle, soft plastics, hard bait, jigs, swim baits, everything. Not only nationwide, but also some of the local guys that do a great job. So Fun and Sun Tackle, go check them out. Go check out Douglas Rods over there. They're great rods. If you're not familiar with Douglas Rods, they've been doing fly fishing rods for a few decades now, and they're great rods, amazing rods. Their Sky G lineup is award-winning fly fishing rods. And they've used that technology for the last, let's say, 5 or 6 years to start building conventional rods. They got two lineups, the LRS, which are all graphite rods, and then the X Matrix, which are more of components, graphite, fiberglass, carbon fiber, different components that make sure that it's called the X Matrix. They're super light. They're super strong. Go check them out. I promise you, not because I work for them, not because they sponsor my show. There are amazing rods. The LRS, like I said, there are all graphite rods. They tend to be less expensive than the LRS, that is, than the X Matrix. The X Matrix are a little bit more expensive. Their target for that lineup is more of tournament anglers. They make technique specific rods, and they have a huge arsenal of rods. I particularly love their big swim bait rods. I mean, that thing is super light. The one that I have, and I can cast up to 6 ounce swim bait on it. And they have even more rods that hold up more weight for bigger swim baits that, again, are super light. They're unbelievably light. Go check them out, douglasoutdoors.com. If you follow me on Instagram, you can hit the link in the bio, and I have a hyperlink there that takes you directly to the website. If you don't have a tackle shop near you that sells Douglas rods, you can also check them out online. There's a lot of like Tackle Warehouse, and I think Fish USA or other companies sell them online as well. So anyways, thank you guys for listening. Like I said, I hope I didn't bore you. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. So if you're going to be out on the water, please be safe. Wear your PFDs, Take care, everybody. Thanks for supporting our channel. Have a great week. Next week, probably going to have Eric Celerio from Hook Off the Grind, one of my favorite YouTube content creators out there. One of the main reasons why I got into kayak fishing was watching his channel, so his YouTube channel. So go check him out. Hook Off the Grind. He's revamping his YouTube account. He is coming out with great new videos, fishing in like skinny waters here in Texas and lakes too. So go check it out. That's going to be probably my special guest for next week. So looking forward for that one. Take care, guys. Once again, have a great night.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. Shout out to Jigmasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com.